Welcome back to Viper Bites, and we have an emergency podcast coming at you right now. And I didn't have a whole lot to go with here, so instead of slapping Chris Rock, I was able to slap together a little something here to break down this latest trade between the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. Yes, you've heard that. This NFL offseason has been crazy, but maybe it gets crazier when you think about interdivisional trades go down, especially when we're talking about the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. Now, how this trade goes down. Going to New England, you have DeVante Parker as well as a 2022 fifth-round draft pick coming Miami's way in exchange for the former first-round selection there. They are getting a 2023 third-round pick. Yes, a 2023 third-round pick. Now, for New England, it doesn't really hurt them a whole heck of a lot here because that 2023 selection they're sending to Miami, they're also getting a 2023 selection in compensatory picks from J.C. Jackson signing with the Los Angeles Chargers earlier on in the offseason. Now, for Miami, yes, they shed a little bit of cap. We'll talk about the salary implications of DeVante Parker here in just a second. But with this trade, Miami now has 5 picks in the first 3 rounds of the 2023 draft. That's 2 first-rounders, a second-round pick, and a pair of third-round selections. When we look at this, basically you're getting a third-round pick in exchange for DeVante Parker. Yes, you're sending off a 5th round there and how that all breaks down. But that is more than what the Cowboys got for Amari Cooper and more than what the Rams got for Robert Woods. Yes, the contracts and salaries for Cooper and Woods are considerably higher than what Parker's cap implication is. But still, when you think about it in just like a little bit of a scope, you know what, maybe New England should have got in on the wide receiver market a little bit sooner. But hey, they don't have a whole lot of money to spend either. So we'll get on that here as well. Now, it was only a matter of time before the Dolphins made a move. They were either going to release or they were going to trade the former first-round pick from 2015 out of Louisville. It was just a matter of time after they acquired, extended, and paid former Chiefs wide receiver, all-pro Tyreek Hill. So it was just a matter of time there. Miami already has 2 number 1 wide receivers in there between Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. There's really no need to add DeVante Parker. They've still got Preston Williams there. They've still got Cedric Wilson coming in. So DeVante Parker and that salary was definitely expendable at this point. Speaking of that salary, DeVante Parker is still under contract for 2 more seasons with a cap hit of $8.7 million in 2022 and $9 million in 2023, with base salaries of $5.65 and $5.7 in those years. Now, while the cap may or may not be real, New England will have some additional moves that are going to have to occur here in the very near future, especially to relieve some of that cap pressure. They technically don't have the cap space readily available, and we know technically Jabril Peppers, his signing hasn't exactly hit the transaction wire as of yet. Now, let's talk DeVante Parker and what he has done statistically in his career. With 93 games of experience, Parker has 338 receptions for 4,727 yards and 24 touchdowns. In 10 games last season, Parker caught 40 passes for 515 yards with a pair of touchdowns. He's gone over 1,000 yards only once, which is one more time than what Christian Kirk has done. But hey, that's neither here nor there. In his one lone full season in which Parker was healthy from start to finish and played every single game, that was 2019, by the way, when his quarterback was Ryan Fitzpatrick. He caught 72 passes for 1,202 yards and 9 touchdowns. This is what the New England Patriots are hoping on they're getting here with Parker. And we know that Parker comes at you with a nice blend of size and speed. 6'3", 216 pounds. Those are areas in which New England desperately needed. And they also needed a field stretcher. They thought they had a field stretcher in Nelson Agholor when they signed him last year. That did not exactly materialize. So this is what they're hoping they're getting in DeVante Parker. So Nelson Agholor, you're on kind of red alert for your job security as well. Now, Belichick knows firsthand what Parker is capable of doing when he's in the lineup. Parker has killed the Patriots over his career so far. 42 catches, 597 yards, and that all happened in 12 games. In that 2019 season, Parker in particular against the New England Patriots, he put them on notice the last week of the season, week 17, a game in which the Patriots needed to win. In that game, he had 8 catches, 4 of which were over 20 yards, and he put up 137 yards. Trust me, Bill Belichick, he remembers that game. Furthermore, since going back to 2019 is where we're going at here when we're talking about DeVante Parker, according to PFF, his 81.6 grade is the 26th highest amongst the wide receivers in the position. So high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2 is kind of where you're picturing Parker so far since 2019. Now, for the Patriots, where does this make sense? How does it break down? Mac Jones, he finished 13th in passing yards last season, 3,801. And there was even a game in there in which he only had 3 passing attempts. You remember that game. So did the Buffalo Bills. Now, his 67.6 completion percentage, that was good for 8th. But the rookie, he did struggle when it came to getting the ball in the end zone. Enter DeVante Parker. I talked about that size, 6'3", 216. This is a area in which Parker wins. He does well in contested catches, and it's definitely going to open up the things for the Patriots in this offensive playbook. A little bit of a deeper look at how we're looking at everything for Parker. In the 2021 season, Parker played primarily on the outside. 86.3% of his snaps came on the outside, but he does have the ability to play inside. He has some experience playing out of the slot, but I don't think the Patriots are too worried about that. They've got a couple of good guys there in Jakobi Meyers and Kendrick Bourne who can kind of fill in, play the outside and play the slot. Lots of versatility within this Patriots wide receiver group as far as where they can line up X, Y, Z, and all that fun stuff. Now, currently, when we look at this depth chart for the Patriots, we insert DeVante Parker in there. He will go into a nice little group with Jakobi Meyers, Kendrick Bourne. Not sexy, but effective. Okay, we'll put it that way. You also have Nelson Agholor there and N'Keal Harry. Now, how does this affect? Well, for Nelson Agholor, this is going to seriously cut into his production. DeVante Parker is coming in there, and you can almost pretty much write off Nelson Agholor for the 2022 season, 2023 season. Maybe they still use Agholor as a deep ball threat, all goes kind of stuff like that. Maybe Agholor still has some value in that. But the addition of Parker will greatly cut into that whole thing we're looking at. What does this mean for N'Keal Harry? N'Keal, start packing your bags because Parker is basically coming in here to do what you were supposed to do. Back when the Patriots drafted you in the first round a few years back, what they envisioned Parker and what he can do is what you were supposed to be able to do that you have not been able to do. Last season, 12 catches in just 12 games, catching a mere 54.5% of your targets, and you were a healthy scratch late in the season. That is not going to sit well with Bill Belichick. He will find a way to replace you. And guess what? He has replaced N'Keal Harry. So look for him to be either traded or cut very soon. Now, with the trio of wide receivers and Meyers, Parker, and Bourne, I don't think the Patriots are necessarily out of acquiring another wide receiver via trade or via the draft. I just don't feel that their hand is going to be forced now in doing so. They have 3 capable type wide receivers. A lot of them are looking at wide receiver 2 type players here right now. So they're not that dominant wide receiver 1 guy. But this does give them some flexibility, and they won't be bullied into making a reach at a wide receiver in this draft. You also have to believe that they're probably not done when it comes to acquiring pieces for this roster. Maybe Odell Beckham Jr., he's still on the radar. We know they've been sniffing around there, kicking tires, seeing what kind of interest is out of the Odell Beckham Jr. camp. So don't count him out there. Or count them out there. I don't know what the Patriots are going to do, but they're up to something because the Patriots are always up to something. If the often injured DeVante Parker can stay healthy and put it all together in the season, we know he can be productive. He has only got 1 season in which he was able to stay healthy, and he put up 1,000 yards in that season. If he can play 85% of the snaps, you can almost count on him being a double-digit type producer in fantasy each and every week. That's what he's done. We know that is in the realm of possibilities when it comes to DeVante Parker. His size, his speed, his contested catch ability, it is a perfect complement to what Kendrick Bourne and Jakobi Meyers do as well. Mac Jones is going to get himself a dependable target as long as Parker can stay healthy, and that is the biggest if, and that's probably where a lot of the frustration comes from the Miami Dolphins brass and the Miami Dolphins fan base. This is one of those high ceiling acquisitions for the New England Patriots. They didn't pay a whole heck of a lot, and they're getting themselves a lot of potential. But will that potential be able to get on the field and stay on the field? That is yet to be seen. Now, we have to assume that lots of pundits out there are going to put DeVante Parker as that wide receiver 1 for the Patriots. Not so fast. You know that this is a pro Jakobi Meyers podcast, okay? Jakobi Meyers, for me, is going to be the man there, still in New England. I think Parker helps Meyers accomplish the things that we were hoping him to do last year. We know there's not going to be any regression in touchdowns because Meyers didn't have any touchdowns last year. Mac Jones only threw 22 touchdowns last year, and like 10 of them went to Hunter Henry. So when we're looking at this, the presence of Parker is going to open up things for Jakobi Meyers and Kendrick Bourne for that matter. But for me, I really like this deal for Jakobi Meyers. I think this helps Mac Jones long-term, and I think it helps him in the now. And you know what? Parker is going to be a good value pick in a lot of drafts right now. Maybe a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 potential each and every week, as long as we're talking about fantasy seasons here. Now, with that all being said, make sure to hit that thumbs up on this video right now. Like us, subscribe to us here on the Vipers Network on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on a podcast platform right now, whether that's Stitcher, Spotify, or Apple, make sure to take a second, rate and review it. Greatly appreciate it. And hey, when news breaks, you better believe we'll be on it. So we'll see you soon.